Hello and welcome to this training where we're going to be talking about how you can prepare to play more advanced scales. Why learn advanced scales? How are they different? Who should be playing them? Because they're not for everyone. And how am I even going to be using them? We're going to answer those questions today. So buckle in. Firstly, why learn advanced scales? Why? Because it helps us with not only giving some language to help us with our creative playing, which is what we specialize in here at Piano Picnic, it also helps us develop good fingering techniques with the fingering patterns that we need to learn in order to play those scales. It helps us develop better control so that we can play scales and passages more smoothly, and it helps us with dexterity, agility, and obviously developing good technique for playing scales helps us to play them more quickly as well with that smoothness and control. So there's a lot of great benefits to playing scales in order to develop technique, but specifically playing more advanced scales means that you just have a greater language of different scales and different keys to be able to use in your creative playing and in your repertoire, but also those fingering patterns are even more advanced than your basic scales, so you are leveling up those benefits as well as your technique. So how are advanced scales different to our basic scales? Well, basically, first 50% of scales are actually covered by one fingering pattern, and we learned about that fingering pattern in recent coaching in the Creative Pianist membership. That coaching was called Sensational Scales, and we learned about how to play the C major fingering pattern and how that fingering pattern actually applies to 50% of the major and minor scales that you need to know. So that is a great fingering pattern, takes you a long way. Now, if you want to go into the other 50% of scales that I'm calling the advanced scales, but not even that much harder, but in order to memorize them, we need to discover some new fingering patterns. So that's the difference. We've got the C major fingering pattern, which covers our C, D, E, G, and A major and natural minor scales. And then we've got all the rest of them, which require a bunch of different fingering patterns that we need to memorize. Will I ever use them? You don't have to be an advanced pianist in order to play advanced scales. Just because you're not necessarily doing repertoire that is going to be giving you an F sharp major scale with tons of sharps and a crazy fingering pattern that you need to memorize. You might not be getting that in your repertoire, but if you go through the motions of learning that fingering pattern, memorizing the fingering pattern and the key signature, then you're just training your brain to learn new things, and the more things you memorize, when you do come across that in a piece, it's going to be super easy. And by learning all of these advanced scales and different key signatures and different fingering patterns, you are just broadening your language in order to be able to improvise in more keys and be more fluent in different keys on the piano. And that's always a good thing. Who are they best for? Who should be attempting advanced scales? Well, I don't think that you should be going into these sorts of scales if you haven't already delved into the C major fingering pattern and technique. So you should have already explored your basic technique for playing scales smoothly, connectedly, without strain, and just better. If you can play a basic C major scale with good technique, and if you're not sure what good technique is, then that basically means that you probably aren't playing with good technique, because it does take some focus and some practice. So if you are confident that you're doing good technique, and if you are unsure, then I recommend you check out my training on how to play piano scales properly without strain. It's called the Essential Scales Starter Pack. Put the link in the description of this video so that you can discover that proper technique for playing simple scales. Then you're going to need to apply that to your C, D, E, G, and A major and minor scales. That's 10 scales in total that you can play with this one fingering pattern. I teach you how to do that in the coaching Sensational Scales within the membership. So you need to sign up the membership to get a hold of that. I'll also link that down below. Once you are confident with that fingering pattern and your technique, then you can delve into the other 50% of scales with the various fingering patterns and key signatures you need to learn. So what I'm saying is you need that C major fingering pattern completely down with good technique, then you can go on into advanced scales. Not before. Make sure you check out my other resources before you do that. So how do you get into the membership to take advantage of these scale trainings, both basic and the advanced one that is actually coming up? You need to just join the membership. Go to pianofitner.com/creative. Right now, I have $20 off your first month if you use the code creative trial. That is for a short time only, so make sure you go check that out ASAP. This is on YouTube, so I am in the future. I'm not sure whether it's going to work, but you might as well try it out. It might be running again. You get access to all of my courses, all of these wonderful coachings on technique and building up your creative skills to play the piano naturally, freely. That's it from me. I've been Ruth Power from Piano Picnic. If you want to come check out the rest of my resources, please come on over. Link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to play it like you mean it.